Gather we now into this space, this time when the wheel turns and the veil shatters. Gather we now to remember, to grieve, to prophesy, to complete our harvests before the long dark comes. Gather we now to tell the stories, the old stories, and sing the old songs, to be, as we have always been, the voice of our people eternal. Gather we now to celebrate that which was, that which is, and that which will be. Gather we now, as we have always done, united by story and bound by love.
Spring had passed. So had summer. Freddie the leaf had grown large. His midsection was wide and strong, and his 5 extensions were firm and pointed. He had first appeared in spring as a small sprout on a rather large branch near the top of a tall tree. Freddie was surrounded by hundreds of other leaves just like himself, or so it seemed. Soon he discovered that no 2 leaves were alike, even though they were on the same tree. Alfred was the leaf next to him. Ben was the leaf on his right side. And Claire was the lovely leaf overhead. They had all grown up together. They had learned to dance in the spring breezes, bask lazily in the summer sun, and wash off in the cooling rains. But it was Daniel who was Freddie's best friend. He was the largest leaf on the limb and seemed to have been there before anyone else. It appeared to Freddie that Daniel was also the wisest among them. It was Daniel who told them that they were part of a big tree. It was Daniel who explained that they were growing in a public park. It was Daniel who told them that the tree had strong roots which were hidden in the ground below. He explained about the birds who came to sit on their branch and sing morning songs. He explained about the sun, the moon, the stars, and the seasons. Freddie loved being a leaf. He loved his branch, his light leafy friends, his place high in the sky, the wind that jostled him about, the sun rays that warmed him, the moon that covered him with soft white shadows. Summer had been especially nice. The long hot days felt good, and the warm nights were peaceful and dreamy. There were many people in the park that summer. They often came and sat under Freddie's tree. Daniel told him that giving shade was part of his purpose.
What's a purpose?
A reason for being. To make things more pleasant for others is a reason for being. To make shade for old people who come to escape the heat of their homes is a reason for being. To provide a cool place for children to come and play. To fan with our leaves the picnickers who come to eat on checkered tablecloths. These are all reasons for being.
Freddie especially liked the old people. They sat so quietly on the cool grass and hardly ever moved. They talked in whispers of times past. The children were fun too, even though they sometimes tore holes in the bark of the tree or carved their names into it. Still, it was fun to watch them move so fast and to laugh so much. But Freddie's summer soon passed. It vanished on an October night. He had never felt it so cold. All the leaves shivered with the cold. They were coated with a thin layer of white, which quickly melted and left them dew-drenched and sparkling in the morning sun.
My mother believes in heaven. the eternal, glorious home beyond life where you spend eternity with the ones you love in a grand reunion. Sounds okay, right? As an agnostic and a non-Christian, I learned that I really shouldn't discuss the afterlife with her. I should smile and nod and say, "See you there." You see, based on my upbringing and previous time in a Christian church, she is still convinced I am spiritually that same person at the core. Well, one day we were specifically talking about heaven, and she was very, very concerned when I told her that I was going to be cremated. "How will I recognize you if you're just a pile of ashes?" she asked me. She was seriously concerned that I would be unrecognizable to her. And that's when I got it. Heaven, for her, isn't necessarily a place you go for your eternal reward, but to be with those you love. Period. I would love to think that when my life here is finished, that I would get to be with my great Uncle Boots again, eating Baskin-Robbins ice cream on a Sunday afternoon, or digging into a bowl of my Grandma Pearl's homemade cranberry relish, or hanging out with my beloved Aunt Dodie, discussing music and life and food and movies, or listening to Merle Haggard with my Uncle Wes as we cruise around in his golf cart. You see, I think heaven, at the core, even for most believers, is a state of mind. It's a comfort zone. It is a guarantee of sorts that when you die, there is something better beyond the life we have lived here. I really don't believe in my mom's concept of heaven. However, I like to think there's potentially a really cool place after this life with great music, great food, awesome camping, great friends, something heaven-ish, perhaps.
Returning to our story, summer had gone and fall had arrived for Freddie the Leaf. Again, it was Daniel who explained that they had experienced their first frost, the sign that it was fall and that winter would come soon. Almost at once, the whole tree, in fact, the whole park, was transformed into a blaze of color. There was hardly a green leaf left. Alfred had turned deep yellow. Ben had become a bright orange. Claire had become a blazing red. Daniel a deep purple, and Freddie was red and gold and blue. How beautiful they all looked. Freddie and his friends had made their tree a rainbow.
Why do we turn different colors when we are on the same tree?
Each of us is different. We've had different experiences. We have faced the sun differently. We have cast shade differently. Why should we not have different colors? This wonderful sense and season of many colors is called fall.
One day, a very strange thing happened. The same breezes that in the past had made them dance began to push and pull at their stems, almost as if they were angry. This caused some of the leaves to be torn from their branches and swept up into the wind, tossed about and dropped softly to the ground. All the leaves became frightened. "What's happening?" they asked each other in whispers.
It's what happens in fall. It's the time for leaves to change their home. Some people call it to die.
Will we all die?
Well, yes, everything dies, no matter how big or how small, how weak or how strong. We first do our job. We experience the sun and the moon, the wind and the rain. We learn to dance and to laugh, and then we die.
I won't die. Will you, Daniel?
Yes, when it's my time.
When's that?
No one knows for sure.
We should each have a leaf Raise it if you do. If you need one, an usher will bring it to you. This autumn leaf is given to us to remind us of the season that we're experiencing and the many seasons we've seen in our lives. Life is ever changing, ever flowing. Autumn leaves are bright, full of life, and sure to fall to the ground at some time as life goes on.
May these pieces of paper remind us of the joy and brightness we experienced when loving the people who have gone from our days. May we remember their aliveness, the ways they changed, the laughter they brought to us, as well as the sadness. Let us close our eyes for a moment to just remember the loved ones we know who have died.
This leaf in the hand is but a small token to remember them by. And in a moment, you'll have a time to write down on the leaf a name, a memory, or a quality or trait of someone you know who has died, or to draw a picture holding your loved one in your memory. And it may be a human person or an animal companion who comes to your mind.
When you're finished, come to one of the altars in the four corners and place your leaf and any mementos you brought among the pictures and leaves and mementos already there. Look at what's on the altar closest to you, knowing that we hold one another in love.
And now, in the sanctuary of each other, take a moment to remember and to write or draw. And then, when you feel ready, come up to one of the altars. As a community, we hold sacred space for these moments of collective grieving, remembering, and loving.
Freddie noticed that the other leaves continued to fall. He thought, it must be their time. He saw that some of the leaves lashed back at the wind before they fell. Others simply let go and dropped quietly. Soon, the tree was almost bare.
I'm afraid to die. I don't know what's down there.
We all fear what we don't know, Freddie. It's natural. Yet you were not afraid when spring became summer. You were not afraid when summer became fall. They were natural changes. Why should you be so afraid of the season of death?
Does the tree die too?
Someday, but there's something stronger than the tree. It's life. That lasts forever, and we are all a part of life.
Where will we go when we die?
No one knows for sure. That's the great mystery.
Will we return in the spring?
We may not, but life will.
Then what has been the reason for all of this? Why were we here if we only have to fall and die?
It's been about the sun and the moon and our happy times together. It's been about the shade and the old people and the children. It's been about colors in the fall. It's been about seasons. Isn't that enough?
That afternoon, in the golden light of dusk, Daniel let go. He fell effortlessly. He seemed to smile peacefully as he fell. Then Freddie was alone, the only leaf left on his branch. The first snow fell the following morning. It was soft, white, and gentle, but it was bitter cold. There was hardly any sun that day, and the day was very short. Freddie found himself losing his color, becoming brittle. It was constantly cold, and the snow weighed heavily upon him. At dawn, the wind came that took Freddie from his branch. It didn't hurt at all. He felt himself float quietly, gently, and softly downward. As he fell, he saw the whole tree for the first time. How strong and firm it was. He was sure that it would live for a long time, and he knew that he had been part of its life, and it made him proud. Freddie landed on a clump of snow. It somehow felt soft and even warm. In this new position, he was more comfortable than he had ever been. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. He didn't know that spring would follow winter and that the snow would melt into water. He didn't know that what appeared to be his useless, dried self would join with the water and serve to make the tree stronger. Most of all, he did not know that there, asleep in the tree and the ground, were already plans for new leaves in the spring, the beginning.
Here in this vessel are the waters that we mingled together during the ingathering water communion service at the beginning of September. These waters represent who we are. They represent our experiences, and they represent the life cycle that each one of us experiences. Today we pause for a moment to lift up the memory of those who have died. We hold the names and memories in our hearts, especially the losses that are fresh. We open our hearts and we allow the outpourings of compassion and love this community has to offer to wash over the complex emotions that are present when those we love die. And today, that love and compassion we have to offer one another is held in these waters mingled with the love, with the stillness, with the turbulence, and with the flow of our lives. And now we invite the Bailey family to pour these waters out in our memorial garden. We go out into the crisp fall air, touched by the memory of all who have gone before.
In our remembering, may their words and deeds flow over and around us and fill our hearts. May we cherish our memories of the ways our beloved enriched our lives.
May their living, their persistence, be a source of courage, resilience, and hope as we live our own lives.
May this gathered community offer each one of us grounding and love and support in the days to come, whatever may befall us.
And each day, as we tell our stories, as we honor the turning of the seasons and the circle of life, may we cherish every moment with those we love.